Do you really know the true story of the Apostle Paul? Most people see him as a great man of faith, one of the greatest missionaries of Christianity. But few know that before all of that, he was feared, relentless, and responsible for persecuting those who followed Jesus. His story does not begin with miracles or preaching, but with violence, hatred, and a blind zeal that drove him to unimaginable extremes. And it was precisely at the height of that darkness that something happened, something so powerful that it not only changed his life, but completely transformed the course of history. What could make a man like that abandon everything? What happened in that moment that redefined his destiny forever? Before becoming known as Paul, the apostle who would impact the world, he was Saul of Tarsus, a man shaped by a unique and powerful environment. Tarsus was not an ordinary city. It was one of the most important centers of the Roman Empire, located in a strategic position between the East and the West. Its streets were marked by intense trade, cultural diversity, and an intellectual level comparable to great cities like Athens and Alexandria. It was a place where philosophy, politics, and knowledge constantly intersected. It was in this setting that Saul was born and raised, surrounded by Greek influence, yet deeply rooted in Jewish tradition. From an early age, he was rigorously educated, learning not only a profession, but being trained in the laws and customs of his people. His devoted and disciplined family ensured that he received a solid foundation, both culturally and religiously. Later, he would be sent to Jerusalem, the spiritual heart of Judaism, where he would deepen his knowledge even further. This environment not only shaped his mind, but also built his identity. Saul was not an ordinary man. He was a result of a powerful combination of culture, religion, and extreme discipline. And it was precisely this foundation that prepared the ground for everything that was to come. Saul of Tarsus was not just another religious young man. He was a brilliant mind, disciplined, and completely devoted to what he believed in. From an early age, he showed above-average intelligence and an impressive ability to absorb knowledge. His education was not superficial. He was rigorously trained in Jewish traditions, becoming deeply knowledgeable in the law and customs of his people. His dedication was total, his commitment unshakable. But along with this excellence, something darker was growing within him, an extreme, almost uncontrollable zeal. Saul did not merely believe he was right. He was absolutely convinced that he needed to defend his faith at any cost. To him, any threat to Jewish traditions had to be eliminated without hesitation. And that is exactly what began to happen. While many saw a just and faithful man, others saw someone feared and relentless. Saul became known for persecuting the followers of Jesus with brutal intensity. He did not act out of ignorance, but out of conviction. He believed he was doing the will of God, even if it meant imprisoning, humiliating, and even consenting to the death of innocent people. This contrast is what makes his story so powerful. A highly prepared man, driven by faith, yet consumed by a distorted purpose. Light and darkness coexisted within him, and this conflict would become the stage for one of the greatest transformations in history. Saul's world began to enter into tension when a new movement started to grow rapidly, the followers of Jesus of Nazareth. These men and women proclaimed that the Messiah had already come, that he had been crucified, and that he was alive. To Saul, this was not just an error. It was a direct affront to the law he had dedicated his entire life to defending. The more this movement expanded, the greater his indignation became. He saw it as a dangerous threat that needed to be eliminated before it spread even further. Driven by burning zeal, Saul began to persecute Christians with increasing intensity. He invaded homes, dragged men and women away, authorized imprisonments, and actively participated in the repression of this new way. But the real conflict was not only in the streets, it was within him. Although he was convinced he was doing the right thing, his obsession revealed something deeper, a hardened heart, unable to see beyond his own conviction. He fought to protect his faith without realizing that he was fighting against the truth. This confrontation between belief and reality, between zeal and truth, was about to reach a critical point, a moment that would change everything forever. It was at the height of his fury, when his conviction seemed stronger than ever, that everything changed. Saul was on his way to Damascus, determined to expand his persecution against the followers of Jesus even further. With authority in his hands and a clear purpose in mind, he moved forward without imagining that this would be the day that would shatter everything he believed to be true. Suddenly, at midday, an intense light, brighter than the sun itself, broke through the heavens and completely surrounded him. It was not something natural. It was impossible to ignore. In an instant, Saul was thrown to the ground, powerless, without control, as if all his authority had been stripped away from him. And then, in the crushing silence of that moment, a voice echoed, direct, piercing, impossible to resist. "Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me?" The question did not just reach his ears, it pierced his soul. Confused and trembling, he replied, "Who are you, Lord?" And the answer was like a sword cutting through his entire inner structure. "I am Jesus, whom you are persecuting." At that moment, everything collapsed. Years of study, firm convictions, absolute certainties, all of it fell apart. The Messiah he rejected was alive. And worse, he was not fighting for God. He was fighting against him. As he got up, Saul realized something even more terrifying. He was completely blind. The man who thought he could see the truth could now see nothing at all. He, who once led others with authority, had to be led by the hand. Fragile, broken, without direction. That was not just an encounter. It was a complete destruction of identity. And at the same time, the beginning of something entirely new. If this message has spoken to your heart, leave your like and share it with someone who needs to hear this. Subscribe to the channel for more content like this and turn on notifications so you don't miss any message from the Bible. Your interaction helps carry this word to more people. That moment on the road to Damascus was not just a shock. It was the beginning of a deep and irreversible transformation. Saul, the relentless persecutor, was now blind, vulnerable, and completely dependent. For days, he remained without sight, without eating or drinking, immersed in a silence that forced him to confront everything he believed to be true. Within him, something was being rebuilt. His former identity, based on pride, knowledge, and control, was being broken to make way for something new. When he finally regains his sight, it is not only his eyes that are opened, but his mind and his spirit. He understands that Jesus was not a threat. He was the very way. From that moment on, Saul no longer exists as he once did. Paul emerges, a man with a new purpose, a new mission, and a new vision of the world. The persecutor becomes a follower. The man who once destroyed now begins to build. This transformation was not superficial. It was total, and it marked the beginning of a life completely devoted to what he once tried to destroy. But Saul's transformation into Paul did not bring immediate peace. It brought intense and unexpected consequences. The one who was once feared was now viewed with suspicion by everyone. To the religious leaders, he became a traitor. To the Christians, someone too dangerous to be trusted. He no longer belonged anywhere. His new faith placed him directly in the line of danger. The man who once persecuted was now being persecuted. His presence began to disturb, his words provoked, and his message generated opposition wherever he went. Rejection was constant, and isolation became part of his journey. In addition, Paul had to deal with the weight of his past. The memories of everything he had done did not disappear easily. Every step in his new mission also carried a reminder of who he had been. These consequences were not a punishment. They were part of the process. They were the price of a real transformation. And even in the face of all this, Paul did not retreat. He moved forward, determined to live the new purpose he had received. If there's one thing that defines Paul's life after his transformation, it is constant suffering. Unlike what many imagine, following his new purpose did not bring comfort, it brought pain. Real pain, physical, emotional, and spiritual. Every step of his mission was marked by challenges that tested his limits. Paul was imprisoned several times, chained like a criminal, even though he had committed no crime. He was beaten, flogged repeatedly, to the point that his body carried visible marks of everything he endured. On some occasions, he was stoned and left near death. On others, he faced shipwrecks, dangers in travel, hunger, thirst, and nights without shelter. But the suffering was not only external. There was also inner pain, the weight of rejection, loneliness, and abandonment. People who once walked with him, in moments of pressure, walked away. Even so, he kept going, even wounded, even tired, even without any guarantee of safety. And the most remarkable thing, Paul did not see the suffering as defeat. For him, every scar had a purpose. Every pain carried meaning. He understood that his faith would not be proven in moments of ease, but precisely in adversity. While many would have given up, Paul remained steadfast. His strength did not come from circumstances, but from the conviction that what he was living was part of something greater. The suffering did not stop him, it shaped him. And it was exactly through this process that his faith became unshakable. Even in the face of so much suffering, Paul did not retreat. He moved forward with even greater determination. His life became completely devoted to the mission of proclaiming the message of Jesus, not only to the Jews, but also to the Gentiles, something revolutionary for that time. He crossed cities, regions, and even continents, facing constant dangers to bring this message to places where it had never reached before. His missionary journeys were marked by courage and purpose. Paul preached in public squares, synagogues, homes, and even prisons. Where there was resistance, he persisted. Where there was opposition, he continued. His voice echoed in important centers such as Ephesus, Corinth, and Philippi, reaching people of different cultures and backgrounds. Moreover, even while imprisoned, Paul did not stop fulfilling his mission. It was precisely in chains that he wrote letters that would span generations, strengthening the faith of thousands throughout history. His words were not limited to his time. They remain alive to this day. Paul's mission was not only to preach, it was to transform lives. And despite everything he faced, he never lost sight of the purpose he had received. As the years went by, Paul's journey led him to the most intense point of his story. After countless journeys, persecutions, and imprisonments, he finally arrived in Rome, the center of power of the empire, but not as a free man, rather as a prisoner. Chained, watched, and increasingly isolated, Paul faced his final days under harsh and uncertain conditions. The man who had impacted multitudes was now in silence, limited by cold walls and loneliness. Many abandoned him out of fear. Others simply disappeared. Even so, his faith did not weaken. On the contrary, in that end-of-life setting, it proved stronger than ever. Even in prison, Paul remained steadfast, writing, teaching, and keeping the flame of his mission alive. He knew his end was near. And in the face of that, he showed no fear, no regret, only conviction. His death was not the end of the story, but its climax. The man who once persecuted the faith now gave his own life for it. What seemed like defeat in human eyes was, in fact, the greatest proof of his spiritual victory. Paul's story confronts us deeply. It shows us that true faith is not built in moments of comfort, but proven in the most difficult seasons of life. Paul was not transformed merely to live something extraordinary. He was transformed to endure, to resist, and to remain steadfast, even when everything around him said to give up. How often do we seek easy answers, painless paths, a faith without sacrifice? Paul's life reveals the exact opposite. God did not remove the challenges, but gave him the strength to face them with purpose. His journey teaches us that no matter who we were in the past, there's always the possibility of a new beginning. And more than that, even pain can become part of something greater. The question that remains is, are we willing to live a faith like this? A faith that endures, even when tested by suffering. If this message has touched your heart, don't keep it to yourself. Leave your like and share it with someone who needs to hear this message from the Bible today. Write in the comments what spoke to you the most in this story. And if you want to keep strengthening your faith with content like this, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Your interaction helps this message reach even more lives.